Welcome to the Flying S Podcast, bringing City Hall to your headphones. Your go-to source for community news, events, and stories straight from your local Sidney government. I'm Brittany King.
And I'm Andrew Bowser. And every other Friday, we'll bring you what's happening in our hometown and local government. Fast, factual, and focused.
Welcome back to the Flying S Podcast. I have Andrew here with us and Kristy Fryman, the Executive Director of the EMA.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kristy. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy to have you on. We know that we get to interface with the county and specifically EMA quite a bit. We talk about stuff on the radio show all the time. And I think, for preparedness sake and things like that, I think this is great to have you on as a guest. So to kind of kick us off, why don't you just give us a background of who Kristy Fryman is?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. So I'm born and raised from St. Mary's, so just a little bit north of here. I attended Ball State University with that degree in meteorology. So when you guys see my weather assessments, you can trust it now, right?
You're the expert on it.
Yes.
Yes.
A full weather woman, right?
I am. That 4-year degree from Ball State. So go Cards.
I'm curious, what does that schooling look like? What do your classes look like? Is it just like
math, physics?
Oh.
Yeah. Not a lot of fun stuff.
Gotty.
Looking at radars.
Anytime in front of a green screen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I did I was a meteorologist for the local TV station there. The
Really?
campus. Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
Oh, yes.
There's
some good footage out there.
Yeah.
I feel like you would be the person that is like, there's a meteorologist that I see where he will take lyrics and put it into his weather readings just to see if people will notice, and it's hilarious.
That is very interesting. Maybe we can find some clips from YouTube and we can post them here on
Kristy?
the podcast. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Wait,
Oh,
what
boy.
city was it for?
Never mind.
Ball State. So
Muncie.
Yeah, Muncie. Yeah.
Muncie,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes. So after I graduated from there, I went to Indiana Homeland Security, and I did forecasting for the governor, and I also worked in their watch desk, maintaining that situational awareness across the state 24/7. So I was looking at things for threats, analysis type of stuff for emergencies across the state. But my meteorology degree played a huge role during severe weather events. I was able to forecast and give that report directly to the governor, who was able to help with decisions from that kind of stuff for emergencies.
That's awesome. So what brought you to Sidney to work for Shelby County?
So after I actually left Indiana, I went to Virginia. I did exercises out there for the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. Loved it. I love the exercise world, which you guys know. I'm very big on exercises because that's how we prepare for disasters, right? We test our plans and see how they work.
And when she says exercises, she means exercises for emergency crisis.
Correct. We're not out there, lifting weights and that kind of stuff. I'm talking about testing our plans for in the event of an active shooter situation, on getting the fire department in and law enforcement, and testing those things to see how their plans are so we can build upon those plans. So from out in Virginia, I got a little bit of homesick, moved back to the great state of Ohio, where I did some consulting for Tetra Tech out of Cincinnati. That was not my cup of tea. I prefer to be more of a local level. So from there, I went to Mercer County Health District. I started there right before COVID hit. So as you can imagine, I was a public information officer during that and their chief for planning.
Yeah, I worked for, local government during that time too. And it was really difficult to work through crisis management with COVID because it was so unknown.
It was, and you didn't know what tomorrow was going to bring or what resources we were going to have. So from there, I ended up seeing a job posting for Shelby County. And while I liked the health department, I prefer being in emergency management 100% of the time. So I was able to transition to that role back in October of 2021. So that's how I ended up here in Shelby County, right around the same time that Andrew started.
Yes, 1 month before me.
Correct. We were the new ones in town.
We were, and we got to meet on our first FEMA training, right?
We did. I think it was EOC interface course.
Sure. Yeah.
So we sat at that table. We were the new kids in the room.
We were, yeah.
I didn't realize you guys started around the same time. That's fun.
Yeah, it was fun. So
yeah. A lot of good energy in the room, I think, from that perspective, right? New, fresh ideas, a youthful energy, and hit the ground running.
Yeah, it was cool to see the collaboration from the county and city right from the start. That was really cool to see.
Well, and you collaborate with the county and the city a lot. I know that you and I work together if you open up the EOC or when we do have bad weather and stuff. Why don't you talk a little bit about those partnerships that you have specifically with Sidney's Safety Services?
Yeah, so EMA serves as the coordination hub, right? So I'm the one who's able to get the training and the plans rolling for everybody that's involved, whether it be a disaster or an exercise. So I serve as that hub. I want to make it pretty clear that I am not a first responder, right? So I don't go lights and sirens to the scenes like the boys do when they go. I'm there to provide resources for them. So in the event that they get on a fire, and it's a pretty large fire, and they need more firemen or they need more water, they can call EMA and I'll be able to track down that resource for them.
Well, and a good example of that, I think it was sometime last year, we had that chemical spill out at our water department that you assisted our fire services and hazmat team with.
Yeah, I think that was 2:00 in the morning. I get that call from dispatch saying our
Chlorine leak.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was the chlorine leak. Mm-hmm.
The dispatch was calling saying that our hazmat chief, Simon, who is also from the Sidney Fire Department, but serves as the hazmat chief for the Shelby County hazmat team, which is part of EMA, getting that call saying, we're not sure what we're going to be dealing with. So I'm driving down at 2 a.m. in the morning, and thankfully things were better than what we had expected. But that's a type of coordination and collaboration that I would have with the city.
Yeah. So for the people out there listening and things like that, where can they find you? Where are your offices out of? And I guess talk a little bit about sort of some additional resources. What's your staffing look like, and kind of go from there.
So my office is actually located on the fairgrounds. It's 800 Fair Road. It's actually the old fire department that they had in the county several years ago.
Civil defense building,
yes.
right?
Yes, yeah. It's a pretty large building. Right now, I am by myself, but by the time this airs, we will be full staffed, so up to 2.
Fantastic.
So you're right. So we will be a 2-person shop with 24/7 responsibilities, right? So we know disasters don't like to hit at between the hours of 8 to 4, 8 to 5. Typically, they hit after hours. So in the event that something happens, I'm the one who gets called. And then from there, we see if I would need to bring in additional help from the staff that I hire or what the situation is.
Great. Let's talk a little bit more about the sort of EMA partnership, both with the city and Shelby County, and sort of what that coordination looks like.
Sure. So an example, a prime example of coordination that I can think of right away was with Andrew when we had that flooding back in March earlier this year.
Yeah, earlier this year. Yeah.
Right. So we knew that the river was starting to rise, and I was in communication with you. And then I ended up coming down, meeting with you. We walked the area of the flooding. We had communication with the National Weather Service. We were communicating with fire. We were communicating with the Red Cross in the event that we would have to open up a shelter. So the coordination there would be something that I work directly with the city with.
And obviously, between us, we've always had great communication. I mean, we're always texting each other or calling via various situations that are out there. Obviously, you give a weather report to us if there's any sort of inclement weather that's coming into the county or to the area. We're always getting updates around that. They're always very detailed.
I was going to say, they are not just a report. It's like an 8-page report that she will literally give us graphs and pictures and any form of fact sheets that she has. It's amazing of what you bring over to us.
Yeah, I'm able to use that meteorology degree, right?
Right.
So it's extremely helpful because most of our disasters that we have are typically weather related, whether it be flood, tornadoes, windstorm, blizzard. Most of them deal with weather. So I'm grateful to be able to have that background to be able to give a little more forecasting through as a heads up type of thing.
Well, absolutely. And I think because of that collaboration and a lot of work that's went in from our public safeties and especially for flooding, our public works department and things like that, we're able to respond. We have a flood action plan that we put into place. If the river crests over its banks and gets to a certain level, there are mediation tactics that the city then takes in coordination with EMA to make sure that we're providing some level of protection for the community for a basis of flooding or flash flooding in certain areas that we know are naturally going to happen.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that was key when we followed the plan back in April. We saw it come to life and we followed it, and thankfully nothing severe really came out of that. Obviously we had damage to the parks, but we didn't have to evacuate the homes. However, we were prepared to do so.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I think it's wonderful to see, a city and an EMA and a county all working together under the same plan. I think that's super beneficial to have those fast reactions of like what you guys are talking about with the floods and all of that kind of stuff and watching things. Having that unification of that one single plan, which Kristy, you've done a great job of getting all of the partners involved to make those plans.
Right. And it's better to be prepared ahead of time. I think one of the biggest things that I've seen here, coming from the, being an outsider, like we talked about, coming from the Salina and Auglaize area, the collaboration between the city and the county and the villages has been outstanding. Building those relationships prior to a disaster is key. I don't want to show up at the scene where we have a tornado roll through and those folks not know who I am. We're going to be in a very bad situation that day.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of work that happens behind the scenes and long before there's obviously some sort of disaster, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we work a lot on the plans of what are we going to do if something happens. So that's a big part of my job is developing those emergency plans. We lead the community preparedness efforts, meaning educating the public, the schools on the disasters that we face. I'm in the schools quite a bit throughout the year, getting those folks to understand what we have to deal with, working with the schools on their operations plans in the event that they have an emergency. We worked pretty hard with Sidney City Schools, especially last year when we did a big full-scale exercise for them.
I've never actually truly been involved in a full exercise like that. And so, I guess on the evaluator side, I've been involved in those exercises as a participant, but seeing all of our different departments and seeing the passion that they had, even just a exercise, I thought was phenomenal. And I think the whole day went, very smooth, and you did it at multiple different schools. It wasn't just at Sidney High School.
Yeah, Sidney High School was the biggest one that we did. We were able to bring in more partners in on that one. So an exercise typically takes almost a year to plan. When I'm talking about exercise, that's a full-scale exercise. That's boots on the ground. So that's from the moving parts of when, say, an active shooter situation occurs, the shooter goes in, and then we've got people down. We see how they respond. So an exercise of that nature takes a lot of coordination with our partners, and that's been outstanding to see. Just not let alone in the city of Sidney, but also countywide. We have a big exercise coming up next spring at Honda. Our yearly exercise that we're required by the state for our local emergency planning committee, that's our LEPC. It has to be hazmat oriented. And as I mentioned before, we have a hazmat team, a type 2, which is a pretty cool verification to have from the state. So we are a team trained from the City of Sidney Fire Department, but also county volunteer fire departments that are on the team. But seeing that level of dedication from the hazmat team is pretty incredible too. But going back to the Honda exercise that we did, we're able to bring let alone our hazmat team in, but also the folks from Honda and practice their skills too. Honda also has a team of hazmat and has a team of first responders. So we're going to be able to test how the collaboration works among those folks.
Like they have their own individual safety services there.
Yes.
That's great. I mean, it's a huge, huge plant. So I understand why they would need that.
Yeah, so we like to work with those manufacturers, again, just not in the city of Sidney, but all across the county. So it's just a collaboration among all the partners involved. But every time I mention an exercise, everybody seems to be on board because they know that they can practice those skills in a testing environment, right? We can know where our hiccups are, and then we can go build upon those.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So obviously we've talked about all the planning that happens ahead of time. The exercises are great. It allows not only the city and county jurisdictions, governmental agencies plan, but also when we're coordinating with the private sector as well. But let's say a disaster does happen. How does EMA interface with us openly, with the state, and talk through what are the things that you're able to do to help limit the impact of that disaster?
Sure. So in the event that, say, the flooding situation got bigger in the city of Sidney, we're able to open our activation center through the county, but also through you. The activation center is a coordination hub. So we're able to bring those partners, whether it be the city, the county, the state, if it even would go to the federal level, bring those partners into one place to coordinate what we need done. It's a coordination hub, but it's also information sharing hub. So that's where we push a lot of our information out. That's where I work closely with Brittany on getting the information out to the public that we need. So activating that emergency operations center is key, but it also helps open up additional resources that we need. Say we declare a state of emergency or disaster, that can open up the door for a possible funding to come through. So being able to say, hey, the city says we need help, the county comes in, and if I think we need more help than we're getting from the county, I go to the state, they bring in their help, and then if it would get even bigger, the feds can come in and help as well. So it all starts at the local level for a disaster, and it ends at the local level as well. So we work through that entire process of response through our Emergency Operations Center, which is located at the Sidney Police Department in the training room.
Right. So helping manage the logistics, the communication. Obviously, you're a PIO. Brittany is our PIO for the city of Sidney, and we have other backups as well. But if we need radios, sandbags, shelter support, connections through state and federal, you're the crossover.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And then say we need to open up a family assistance center if we would have a mass casualty incident. An example would be we have a big bus crash on 75, and we have to let family members know where their loved ones went. We would open up what's called a family assistance center. We bring those in, we walk through the process. There's also a family reunification center, family assistance center. There is a resource center. So there's a lots of pieces to this overall puzzle of emergency management that we can activate or start at through the county EMA.
So we've talked about what you provide in an EOC. So let's talk about some of those other resources that the EMA supports the county and the city with. You know, you've mentioned the hazmat team and various other things, but what are some of the major resources?
You know, like you said, the hazmat team is a huge component right there. Our hazmat team actually has 2 vehicles too, which is pretty neat to see. We have one vehicle that serves as a communication center. It's got all your tools for communication. And then we have a hazmat 2, which contains all of our equipment. Additional resources that we have a radio amateur team. So in the event that, say, we would lose all of our communications across the city and the county, we have a team who can talk on their radios. Don't ask me how, but they've got a unique setup where we'll be able to communicate through radios. That team also assists with other activities such as traffic control for, I believe it's the Winter Wonderland Parade that you guys have in November.
It shuts down a large portion of the downtown.
Yeah, so they help with traffic control, and they also help with July 4th fireworks. This team can also help me. They were just recently trained to be able to do damage assessment. So if a tornado would roll through and I can't be out in the field, I can call this team in. They can come in and they're trained to know what to look for to give me to push that information to the state. Because once a tornado rolls through, I'm getting hammered by the state of what's going on. So being able to have additional eyes out there will help. our fire department and our police department know to be able to give me information too. But if they are doing life safety stuff, they don't have time to be doing real damage assessment. So we give that opportunity to our trained Shelby County radio amateur team, who, again, I'm very grateful to have. Additional things that we have is a mass casualty trailer. I really hope we don't get to the day that we have to use this trailer, but we have it. So it's a trailer that's ready to go. The fire department goes through it once a year to make sure we have all the medical supplies we would need in it. So in the event that we do have a mass casualty, it can be deployed. And then we also have 2 generators, and these are pretty good size generators. We have an 100 kW and a 20 kW generator. So these generators are able to be deployed when we need. I know that it is hooked up for the church out here for our shelter. It's ready to go for that. And then it's also able to go to the radio station. So if they lose power, they can use that generator there. These generators were through Gadaha, which is the hospital network out of Dayton, but we house them here in Shelby County and we do the maintenance on them. So they are ours, but in the event that there would be a huge disaster somewhere else, they can be redeployed.
That's nice. And I think that, again, shows the partnership with the different resources that each one of us can have and bring something different to the table.
Yeah. And you mentioned the radio station, and obviously we've had them on prior to, but just so to let the listeners know and understand that if there was a power outage and a disaster, the radio is going to be one of those aspects that you're going to be able to tune into, and that's 105.5. So that's our local radio station here in Sidney and Shelby County. So if something were to happen, if you tuned in, you could get live updates from FM radio station.
Yep. So that's why we have those generators, and they've been tested, and I believe they've been deployed at least twice out there since I've been director, just in the event, mainly when we have a winter storm that's about to roll through and we go into a winter storm watch, we get it out there. So that's one way of information that we can push out because we know that it'll work that way.
Yeah, because a big part, the main part of your job is not, I think we've kind of discussed it before, is not just reacting, but being proactive to all of these. So it's nice to hear that when, you do see these large weather storms coming in, that you have those proactive measures put in place just in case we need them. So you talked about like the radio and how you partner with them with the generator and everything. So then that's a good outlet for people to listen to always get their information. What other kind of warning signs do you utilize? I know specifically with tornadoes, you have the sirens that you let off. Why don't you talk a little bit more about that and how people can receive those notifications and everything?
Sure. So the outdoor warning sirens are set off by the county and the city in the event that a tornado warning is issued across the county. The outdoor warning sirens are meant to be heard outdoors, and I think that's important to know. So if you're indoors, you may not hear that outdoor warning siren. So we encourage you to have multiple ways to be able to receive warnings and watches. One way that you can do it specifically for Shelby County is sign up for Shelby County Alerts. That's through our Civic Ready platform. You can sign up, you can pick what you want to be alerted on, if you want to be alerted on a winter storm warning, thunderstorm warning watch, and how you want to be alerted. Say you want a phone call, an email, a text. You get to pick what you want. But that's one way to be able to see warnings for and watches for severe weather that's coming through. Another tool that Shelby County actually has too is what we call iPause. We have that ability through the federal government, but we're able to tie that into Shelby County. Both dispatch centers are able to utilize it. So when I say iPause, I'm going to refer that to an example as an Amber Alert. But when we send an iPause message out, this is just for disasters or emergencies. That's specifically to Shelby County. Again, that would only be done in the event that it's something big, and our dispatch centers are able to send that out, and you don't have to be signed up for iPause. Whatever that targeted area where the disaster is, you're going to be pinged.
So these are really great resources to help keep you and your family and your property safe.
So as we talked about a little bit ago, emergencies can happen anytime, anywhere. Tornadoes, floods, even earthquakes. I don't know if you guys both realize that Anna has a fault or the fault line in Anna, so they run the risk of an earthquake.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so the school actually did a drill last year with their students for earthquakes.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, a lot of the businesses around here actually have an additional insurance policy for earthquakes because it's not covered under normal insurance if it were to happen. And since Sidney is so close to that fault line, if something were to happen catastrophic, it could, obviously disrupt the community.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, so that's one of the hazards that we face in Shelby County. So that's why preparing for disasters like this is so important. And you have to remember that if it's a big disaster, those first responders may be delayed, right? It may take them a minute to get to where you're at or getting the power back on. So what we recommend is the 3-day rule. We recommend you to go 72 hours with needing food and water, because you may be without power and those resources. So you need to be prepared for at least 3 days to be able to survive on your own in the event that the disaster gets big enough. So what you can do today, you can make a plan what you're going to do at home, but also plan on what you're going to do at work. Make a plan for your pets as well. Keep them included as well. We want you to build a kit. Food, water, medications, flashlight, chargers, any important documents that you may think of, throw that in a book bag ahead of time. I know I have one at my office and I have one at home. So in the event that we have a tornado warning, I grab it and we go to our designated area and we just wait to see what happens. Also, stay informed. Sign up for those alerts and know your local risks. So that's what we like to focus on in the month of September. And as you mentioned, please follow our Facebook. We'll provide lots of tips on what you should be doing.
And Kristy is very active on her Facebook page, especially during those serious weather alerts. She'll give you literally minute by minute updates if she has to.
Yep, we try to keep everybody updated as much as you can, and it goes back to that meteorology degree that we keep bringing back. But bringing that radar up and showing people where the activity is at, I think has been pretty big and pretty beneficial here.
And we'll share some of those tips on our Facebook page throughout the month also.
Fun fact, geologists have identified a couple of fault lines that run, the Anna-Champaign Fault and the Auglaize Fault that runs in southern Allen County. Allen, Auglaize, Mercer, and Shelby County vicinity has experienced more than 40 earthquakes over the past 145 years.
Interesting.
The most in the state of Ohio.
Huh. I would have never known that unless you looked it up.
Yeah.
The more you know.
I lied. He knows that off of the top of his head.
Yeah, no. I had to research that. I wanted to know specifically what the fault line was called, and it's called the Anna-Champaign Fault.
Mm.
Yeah, I think we've had 2 minor earthquakes since I've been here, like a 1 point something up in Anna.
So, Kristy, kind of in closing, let's talk about how partnerships save lives. How can we plan together? Kind of close us out on a final thought.
Right. So we really encourage you to take those proactive steps, do that preparedness plan that we talked about, build that kit, know what you're going to do. The more prepared you are, the more confident that you'll be able to handle it when disaster strikes.
And practice those things with your children. It's so important to practice them because if you're not home with them, then they know where that bag is. They know, where their safe place is for a tornado or anything like that.
Correct.
Yeah, I think it's fun too. If you go to the CDC's website, they also talk about the 3-day rule, and they relate it. And this came out, I think, during the whole Walking Dead craze.
The zombie
Zombie
eclipse.
preparedness.
Yes.
Yeah, and
yes.
It's funny because, the chances of that obviously are ridiculous, but it's a good way, I think, to engage kids and the family of how you should be preparing, because whatever you're going to prepare for that disaster has a lot of transferable sort of planning expertise for something else that may be there, whether it's flashlights and making sure that you've got food and things ready to go in case something were to happen, that you can survive for at least 3 days.
Right. And don't forget those pets too.
Yes.
Pet food.
Yes.
And water for your pets.
Correct. Medications, make sure you have those too. Planning ahead helps minimize the risks, protects your loved ones, and ensures a effective response.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of the great information. I think this was a good introductory to the EMA. And, we'll have her back on so that we'll have Kristy back on so that we can do a more deep dive into some of these programs that she offers.
Perfect. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a great conversation, and I look forward to the next one.
Yeah. See ya. Thanks, Kristy.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.